This isn't the first time an Amazon driver has been involved in a hit and run. But why do these incidents keep happening? To understand, we need to look at the world behind the deliveries. Amazon promises fast service. But at what cost? Drivers are given hundreds of packages each day. They have strict schedules. Every minute counts. If they're late, they face warnings or worse. One driver shared his story. He worked long hours without breaks. He felt constant pressure to move faster. He said, "We have to deliver 300 to 400 packages a day. If we don't, we get in trouble." Another driver spoke about the lack of support. He said, "The vans are dirty and unsafe. We're watched all the time. It's stressful. These pressures can lead to mistakes. Drivers might speed or skip safety steps. They're trying to keep up with the demands. In some cases, drivers have been involved in accidents. The pressure to keep going can lead them to make bad choices like leaving the scene." Amazon says they care about safety. But the system pushes drivers to their limits. The focus on fast delivery can put everyone at risk. As we look deeper, we see a pattern. The drive for speed and efficiency can have serious consequences. But what happens to the drivers after these incidents? How does Amazon handle these situations? The answers may surprise you. Stay with us as we uncover the aftermath and the company's response. In August 2024, in a quiet Florida neighborhood, a mother pushed her baby in a stroller. An Amazon delivery van approached. The driver, 45-year-old Sari Nabeth Parovalas, struck them both. The mother suffered a brain bleed. The baby was thrown from the stroller. Parovalas got out, placed the baby back in the stroller, and then drove away. She didn't call for help. She didn't stay. She fled. Site turn 0 search 0. Just a few months later, in November 2024 in Georgia, 79-year-old Sandra Fitz visited a gravesite. As she crossed the street, an Amazon delivery truck hit her. The driver, 24-year-old London Best, didn't stop. He continued his deliveries. Fitz was left to die alone. These aren't isolated incidents. They reveal a disturbing pattern. Amazon's delivery drivers, under immense pressure, make reckless decisions. Lives are lost. Families are shattered. And too often drivers choose to flee. But what happens after these tragedies? How does Amazon respond? The answers may shock you. Stay with us as we delve into the company's actions and the quest for justice. In the heart of Baltimore, a 29-year-old woman lay injured, the victim of a hit-and-run by an Amazon delivery driver. The question on everyone's mind: who was behind the wheel? Investigators began their search with the surveillance footage. The video provided a clear image of the van and a glimpse of the driver. But identifying him wouldn't be straightforward. Amazon's delivery network is vast. Many drivers aren't direct employees but work for third-party contractors. This layered system can make accountability murky. Was this driver an Amazon employee, or did he work for a subcontractor? The distinction could complicate the investigation. Police reached out to Amazon for assistance. The company, aware of the gravity of the situation, suspended the driver involved and expressed their commitment to cooperate with law enforcement and his employer during the investigation. But for the victim and the public, words weren't enough. They demanded action. As days passed, the community grew restless. Tips began to pour in, each one bringing hope of a breakthrough. Detectives followed every lead, piecing together the driver's movements before and after the incident. The pressure was mounting. Amazon, facing public scrutiny, released a statement expressing their commitment to safety and cooperation with the investigation. They emphasized that the driver had been suspended pending the outcome. But for many, this response felt insufficient. Was suspension enough for someone who had left a woman injured on the street? The company's reliance on third-party contractors added another layer of complexity. This structure often allows companies to distance themselves from the actions of individual drivers. But in the court of public opinion, Amazon couldn't escape responsibility. As the investigation intensified, one question remained: would justice be served? The answer would depend on the relentless efforts of law enforcement and the willingness of corporate entities to take responsibility. But just as the case seemed to be reaching a turning point, another revelation emerged. A detail from the driver's past that would cast the entire incident in a new light. Stay with us as we uncover this startling twist and explore its implications. In the aftermath of the Baltimore hit and run, a pressing question emerges. Who bears the responsibility? Is it solely the driver's fault, or does Amazon share the blame? Amazon's delivery system is complex. Many drivers aren't direct employees but work for third-party contractors, known as delivery service partners, DSPs. This structure can shield Amazon from direct legal consequences. When accidents occur, the company often points to the DSPs, distancing itself from the driver's actions. But is this fair? Amazon sets rigorous delivery schedules and monitors drivers closely, influencing their behavior on the road. The pressure to meet tight deadlines can lead to reckless driving and mistakes. In this environment, can Amazon truly claim innocence? For the victim, seeking justice is daunting. She can pursue legal action against the driver and the DSP. However, holding Amazon accountable is more challenging. The company's layered system creates legal barriers, making direct lawsuits difficult. Yet, there have been instances where victims succeeded. In one case, a jury awarded $44.6 million to a victim, holding Amazon partly liable for a delivery driver's negligence. This verdict suggests that under certain circumstances, Amazon can be held responsible. These incidents highlight a critical need for change. The current system allows companies to evade full responsibility, leaving victims to navigate a complex legal maze. Stricter safety regulations and clearer accountability are essential to prevent future tragedies. As the Baltimore case unfolds, the world watches closely. Will this incident prompt a re-evaluation of corporate practices? Can a balance be struck between efficient delivery and public safety? The answers remain uncertain. But just as the debate intensifies, another development emerges. A new piece of evidence surfaces, potentially altering the course of the investigation. Stay tuned as we delve into this unexpected twist and its implications for justice. As the dust settles on the Baltimore hit and run, a chilling realization emerges. This incident isn't isolated. Across the nation, similar tragedies involving Amazon delivery drivers have surfaced, painting a grim picture of systemic issues. In August 2024, in Ives Estates, Florida, a mother pushing her 4-month-old baby in a stroller was struck by an Amazon delivery van. The driver, after hitting them, shockingly placed the baby back in the stroller before fleeing the scene, leaving the infant alone in the intersection. The mother suffered catastrophic brain injuries. The driver, a Venezuelan migrant, was arrested but quickly released on bond. This incident raised serious concerns about Amazon's hiring practices and the safety standards of its delivery operations. Close your eyes for a second. Imagine you're walking home late at night. The streets are quiet. The city hums in the distance. You're thinking about your day, about the things you need to do tomorrow. You don't know it yet, but you won't make it home. Now, open your eyes, because for one woman in Baltimore, this wasn't just a nightmare. This was real. She stepped into the crosswalk the way she had 100 times before. But this time something was different. A set of headlights, coming too fast. A van heavy and unyielding. And a driver who never hit the brakes. The impact was brutal. A sickening thud. The force knocking her off her feet. She hit the pavement hard. But the van, it didn't stop. It rolled over her once. The weight of the tires pressing down. Bones breaking. Then, again. She didn't scream. Couldn't. The van jerked to a stop a few feet ahead. The driver got out. Looked around. Looked at her. And in that moment he had a choice. Help her. Call for someone. Do the right thing. Instead he got back in. And drove away. No hesitation. No second thought. Just another delivery. Another stop. Another package. And she was left behind. Alone. Bleeding. The cold seeping into her skin as the world carried on around her. But here's the part that will haunt you. This wasn't an accident. This was a choice. And it wasn't the first time an Amazon driver made that choice. Because in another city, on another night, someone else is walking home. And the van is coming. Welcome to True Crime Stories videos. I welcome you, my viewers, and most especially my subscribers, for your support as we keep improving and bringing you daily told and untold true crime stories. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. She had a name, a life, a family. 29 years old. Young, full of dreams. Just another night, just another walk home, until everything changed. Her name wasn't in the headlines at first. To the world, she was just the victim. But she was more than that. She had a home, a job, people who loved her. She had plans for tomorrow. But tomorrow never came the way she expected. When the van hit her, it stole more than just her sense of safety. It left her broken, barely conscious, lying on the cold asphalt, struggling to breathe. Her body wasn't made to take that kind of force. No one's is. Broken ribs. A shattered pelvis. Internal bleeding. The weight of the van crushed her, tore through her like she was nothing. And then it happened again. The second hit. The final blow before the driver left her there, like roadkill. She didn't understand at first. The pain, the confusion. She tried to move but nothing worked. The streetlights above blurred into a haze. Her ears rang. Every breath felt like fire. And then the fear set in. Was she going to die here? Was this how her life ended, alone in the street while the world kept moving? She wanted to scream. But no sound came out. Minutes passed. Maybe seconds. Maybe a lifetime. Then headlights. A car slowing down. A door opening. Footsteps. Someone was coming. A voice shaky and afraid. "Oh my God. Are you okay?" A stranger knelt beside her, fumbling for their phone, dialing 911. That call changed everything. The first officer arrived within minutes. Blue and red lights flashed against brick buildings. A radio crackled. A voice asked for an ambulance. The officer stepped out of his car and froze. He had seen bad accidents before. But this wasn't normal. A woman, twisted, bleeding. Tire marks on her clothes. A look in her eyes that he'd never forget. Wide, hollow, somewhere between shock and pain. He knelt beside her. "Help is coming, okay? Stay with me." She tried to speak. Couldn't. More sirens. More officers. The flashing lights turned the quiet street into a crime scene. The ambulance pulled up, doors flying open. Paramedics rushed in. Questions. Quick hands. Checking her pulse, her pupils, the damage. "She's in bad shape," one of them muttered. "We need to move now." A stretcher. A neck brace. The weight of her body lifted off the ground. Her eyes flickered, her breath shallow. She wasn't safe yet. But at least, she wasn't alone anymore. As she was rushed to the hospital, the officers turned to the only witness who could tell them what happened. The city itself. A traffic camera hung over the intersection, its lens pointed right at the scene. A silent observer. It had seen everything. One officer stayed behind, walking toward the nearest store. A convenience shop just down the street. He knocked on the locked door. A man inside hesitated, then unlatched it. "Do you have cameras out front?" The store owner nodded. Led him to the back. A dusty old monitor flickered to life. Rewind. Play. And there it was. The van. The impact. The way her body crumpled under the weight. The way the driver stopped. Got out. Looked down. And left. A hit and run. But this wasn't just any driver. The officer leaned in closer. The van had a logo. A company name printed on the side. Amazon. The footage made its way to police headquarters. More officers watched. Silent. Angry. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't just bad luck. This driver knew. Saw what he did. And still, he ran. Now it was a manhunt. Who was behind the wheel? Where was he now? And perhaps the biggest question of all, was this really just a mistake, or something worse? They didn't have the answers yet. But soon they would. Because somewhere in the city, the driver was still out there. And he had no idea what was coming. Got it? I'll make sure each part of the script flows forward without repeating previous details. Let me rewrite the section with a fresh approach, continuing directly from where the last scene ended. The footage tells a story no one wants to believe. Frame by frame, it captures every terrifying second. The Amazon van moves through the intersection. The woman is already on the ground. She's trying to move, to crawl to safety. The van stops. The driver gets out. He looks at her. Stares for a moment. Then he makes his choice. He steps back inside. The van lurches forward. The front wheels roll over her. The weight crushes bone. Then the back wheels. And just like that, he's gone. No hesitation. No second glance. Police freeze the video. Zoom in. Enhance the image. The driver's face is clear. His expression? Blank. Not shock. Not fear. Just indifference. Investigators study his movements. He saw her. He knew. This wasn't panic. This wasn't confusion. It was a decision. Experts analyze the footage frame by frame. They reconstruct the timeline. The speed of the van. The exact moments of impact. There's no doubt, this wasn't an accident anymore. This was intentional. They compare it to other hit-and-run cases. Most drivers stop. Even those with something to hide. But not this one. This wasn't just about escaping. He wanted to make sure she wouldn't get back up. And now the search begins. Who is this driver? Where is he now? And what was his motive? What police uncover next will change everything. Just a few months later, in November 2024, Canton, Georgia, witnessed another harrowing event. A 79-year-old woman was crossing the street when an Amazon delivery driver struck and killed her. Disturbingly, the driver continued his delivery route as if nothing had happened. He was later arrested and charged with first-degree vehicular homicide and hit-and-run resulting in death. This case further exemplifies the potential dangers posed by the immense pressure placed on delivery drivers. These incidents beg the question, who is truly responsible? Is it the individual drivers, or does the responsibility extend to Amazon's corporate practices? Amazon's delivery network relies heavily on third-party contractors, known as delivery service partners, DSPs. This structure often allows the company to distance itself from direct liability. However, the intense pressure to meet delivery quotas can lead to reckless driving behaviors. The company's monitoring systems, which track drivers in real time, may inadvertently encourage haste over safety. For victims seeking justice, the path is fraught with challenges. While drivers can be held personally accountable, their employment status complicates matters. Amazon's classification of many drivers as independent contractors or through DSPs creates legal hurdles for holding the corporation liable. Yet, there have been instances where victims have successfully argued that Amazon's control over delivery operations implicates the company in negligence. The pattern is clear. Without systemic change, these tragedies are likely to continue. The current framework not only endangers the public but also places drivers in untenable positions, torn between meeting stringent delivery demands and ensuring safety. As Amazon delivery vans navigate our neighborhoods, the pressing concern remains: who is behind the wheel? And more importantly, what measures are in place to prevent the next tragedy? The time for accountability and reform is now. Communities must engage in discussions, advocate for stricter safety regulations, and demand transparency from corporations whose practices directly impact public safety. But as we push for change, another unsettling question arises. What steps are being taken to address the root causes of these incidents? And will they be enough to prevent future tragedies? Stay tuned as we delve deeper into the systemic issues at play and explore potential solutions to this growing concern.